Hi, this video is about AI implementation strategy. My name is David Hood and I'm CEO of 42 Robots AI. And even though this talks about your job, this meme is very accurate for your company. The only way to keep AI from destroying your company or from allowing your competitors to zoom ahead of you is to use AI to run your company better, which means you need to have an effective strategy for implementing AI now, to get this started now. And that's the topic of this video. And I think there's a lot of complex things going on in the AI space, and I'm going to try to make those really simple, along with give you a plan of action to boil it down to something that can help you actually move forward effectively. And then there's a lot of hand waving as well, which I'm going to try to squash down and allow you to ignore. I'll put some links to some relevant videos below. So first of all, I think one of the key things here is team building. I don't think this is super well understood, and as a result, I think this is one of the key reasons why a lot of organizations are struggling to actually implement AI. First of all, you want a chief AI officer, either fractional or not, and we offer fractional chief AI officer duties, but if you can't, that's fine if you want to find yourself somebody. Now there's not a lot of people out there that have the experience to do this, because I believe this should be somebody who has some modern AI engineering experience, which means AI engineer experience. I'll talk about, when I talk about real AI engineers, that'll make a little bit more sense. But this person really needs to be a champion for moving forward AI. Without this person, it'll be very hard to implement. You'll get a lot of political resistance. There's other people who have jobs they've been doing for a long time, and it takes extra work from them to actually get the value out of AI. Maybe the data that they have is incomplete, and so somebody who's using AI needs to be able to actually get them to kind of clean it up or document things better. And if all you have is a software development or AI engineer or something like that who has no authority to push things forward, then you're going to get a lot more resistance. And so this is a very critical role that will also, hopefully this person will, all the rest of the stuff that I'll talk about, they can help you with that as well. Understanding where the real value is, and then what kind of an action plan is, being accountable for that as well. And then one of the most important jobs of the chief AI officer is to hire an AI engineer. So this is basically this is closer to a software engineer than it is a machine learning engineer. And I want to emphasize somebody who is a creative problem solver. So with AI, there's a new paradigm out there. And unfortunately, you have some people on two ends of or there's kind of like three major points. On this end, there's two negative perspectives. Number one, the perspective is that AI, large language models, the most modern recent development, are just imitation engines, which is technically true, but not really effectively true. And then you also have people who think that basically AI can't do anything. It's not really very effective, or it's really going to take over the world. So there's sort of like two really extreme negatives. And then on the positive side, you have people who are like, AI is going to do everything, and there's a lot of hand waving, and it's just like it's going to be a god. But a lot of times when you hear that, there's not really any detail there. Well, how? Well, it's just going to do it. Well, how? Like, to give me some specifics. But the real AI engineers and the real people, the best AI engineers, are creative, because we are in a new paradigm. So on this side, a lot of people are stuck in an old paradigm, and on this side, they're in a new paradigm, but it's a fantasy paradigm based upon sci-fi. You need real practical experience, leveraging LLMs as tools. Let me say that again. Real practical experience leveraging LLMs as tools, because, and this is not just training the LLMs and thinking of very LLM centric. Highly recommend you watch these two videos right here, because most people who will call themselves AI engineers either don't have AI engineer experience, or they're looking at it and trying to solve the problem from a very LLM centric approach, which sounds correct, but actually is incredibly limiting. And the better way to do it, and again, watch these videos, is to think about it like software, and instead of shoving as much of the solution into the LLMs, you actually want to pick the solution apart and pull out as much of the solution. Largely for reliability, but there's a speed and cost benefits that you get as well. So a machine learning engineer is not necessarily an AI engineer. These are two different jobs. Now, some of the AI engineers we have are also machine learning engineers, and then some of them are not. And so it does help for an AI engineer to have a fundamental understanding of how the large language models work. But what's more important is how to use them as tools. This seems to confuse a lot of people. It's like, why? And I think what we're got here is a lot of like back in the day, 30 years ago, there was like webmaster, and that was just like all the web jobs. And now that's split into a ton of different jobs, and that will happen here, both to AI engineers and machine learning engineers. I expect that to be kind of as it gets more and more important, the jobs become more and more specific. But a good analogy here is like the people who design the race car, the people who build the race car, and the people who drive the race car. These are three different skill sets. And so the people who build the AI models and the people who use the AI models, effectively, two different skill sets. There is some overlap, but there is a very different skill set. And I would say that also one key understanding here is that the modern LLMs, which would, let's say, I think started with GPT-4 in April 2023, have only been out for about a year and a half. Okay, so there's a lot of people who haven't done a lot of work. They're putting their hands up and saying, I'm an AI engineer. They haven't actually built a solution. And it's more of software engineering than it is AI engineering. I'll go more into it as we talk about understanding real value. Now, as a leader at a company, it might feel like you have to know advanced math to understand what large language models can really do. Or you already feel like you understand it, but the chances are very good that you don't if you haven't watched these two videos. Watch these two videos of mine, of ours on this channel, and I'll put links to them below, of new capabilities and limitations. But in these, I try to really put it into plain, simple language. What is it that they can actually do, and what is it that they're constrained by? This discussion is not happening really at all, or it's very, very little in the AI industry. And there's a lot of, again, hand waving and glossing over of what LLMs, what new capabilities do they actually bring to the table? What can we do today that we couldn't do 2 years ago? And there's a lot of stuff that doesn't get talked about very much. And this is a very useful thing for you as a leader, even if you have the chief AI officer, to be able to have a good conversation with him, to be able to understand and identify yourself, at least preliminary in a preliminary fashion, what can be done, what are the problems that can actually be solved. And I alluded to the good AI architecture as well, which was basically that you want, instead of the LLMs using classic software as tools, you want it to be the other way around. Classic software to use LLMs as tools. And as much as you can solve with non-AI architecture, non-AI software, non-AI algorithms, you want to solve that because it's faster, more reliable, and less expensive. And then at key places within the solution, you want to use LLMs in a way that makes sense, and you want to use the minimum LLM that you need to. So sometimes you can use a really lightweight, fast, inexpensive one. And what you get is, this is how you get much more reliability. What most other people seem to be doing is they try to think about the model as a solution and the solution as the model, and they try to shove everything in the prompt and retrieval augmented generation into tools where they call software, where the kind of the center of it is an LLM. And I promise you, you will dramatically reduce your ability to solve problems, or the problems you try to solve will be way, way, way more challenging and more expensive to solve this way. This is based upon lots of R&D, lots of work that we've done. It's super, super obvious, and it's kind of crazy to me that this LLM-centric, it's not crazy, I understand why. There's just a lot of vested interest and a lot of nerds and a lot of groupthink in Silicon Valley going on in terms of promoting the model as a solution. Another way of putting this is that the idea that GPT-5, GPT-7, GPT-20 is going to solve your use case and that you're just building and arbitraging that time is nonsense. It's absolute bonkers. There's way too many limitations in LLMs, and they have plateaued already. GPT-4 18 months ago is not that much worse than the best model today. Really think about that. The Claude 3.5 is the best model right now, just broadly speaking. It doesn't win on all the metrics, but just after actual testing, not based upon any sort of metrics that I've seen, based upon me and my team's internal testing of trying to solve problems with it, Claude 3.5 is the best. Okay, but how much better is it than GPT-4? It's not like orders of magnitude better. It's maybe, I don't even know how to put a percentage on it. Just, it's better, but it's not like, oh my goodness, this is a new paradigm to live with. Now, maybe GPT-5 will be that much better, but I would be willing to bet that for a lot of use cases, GPT-4 will do just as fine as GPT-5. And I'm not saying there aren't new levels of orders of magnitude, but just the way that large language models work, if they're still in this transformer architecture that Google released in 2017, that really the fundamental technology has not changed in 7 years, the expectation that it's going to suddenly change and suddenly be able to do orders of magnitude more things is not reasonable. All right, so this is something that OpenAI and Google and a lot of the big tech companies are selling that does not make sense and is not backed up by the data. So do not believe it. On the flip side, there is real world value. So don't. But my point here is that you can't wait. When you're understanding the real value, there's real value now, but you can't wait for them as much as Sam Altman wants you to be like, oh, just wait for us to solve your problems. They will not. I promise you. It will not work for your use case, or at least it will be a shell of what it could be if you do it right. So another thing, especially you can kind of cross the new capabilities with what are your knowledge workers actually doing? And so the LLMs are extremely applicable to just about every type of knowledge work. And this is going to help you identify potential quick wins. What are they doing? And then and cross that with the list of new capabilities that LLMs can provide. And you'll come up with a list of ideas pretty quickly. Again, a chief AI officer is very helpful for narrowing down this list, identifying certain things, getting into your business and understanding your business, and on top of understanding how to leverage AI, how to use them as tools, that will really make this process a lot better. And one of the broad categories that has a lot of subcategories of new capabilities is data processing. This is particularly close to home for me and my company. We do a lot of stuff around data processing, and processing is such a general term, but generally you can process way more data with large language models than you could ever do as a human. And so that's another lens that I recommend you look at, because I see tons of companies, tons of industries that have massive quantities of data that either goes under leveraged, or there's a lot of manual labor that is very expensively leveraging it. And in both cases, you can do one or both of those to add tons of value to the company. Okay, let's talk about taking action. So I want you to have realistic expectations. Again, there's real world value here, but it will be hard. And the first, you got to expect, like any long-term endeavor, you got to expect there to be some amount of failure, some amount of stumbling, and that's fine. You have to do that. Even if you fail on your first 3 projects, you have to keep going, or else your competitors will figure it out ahead of you. And just basically by being more focused and more disciplined, you can win in the long term. And then there's kind of my strategy for choosing opportunities, especially with the first few ones. I recommend identifying, not based upon how much value it adds to the organization. That is a factor, but I don't think it's the first. It should be non-zero, obviously. But to me, the first primary factor is how fast and easy and reliably do we think we can implement it. And part of this is like a political strategy to get buy-in from the rest of the organization. Even if you have a small win, a small quick win, that can really, I think, open a lot of doors, give ammo to your champion to actually be able to push this more aggressively through the organization. And then I think you want to balance that, especially when you got 1 or 2 quick wins, with, okay, what's something that where we can get massive value? So with one company we're working with right now, there's a small quick project that doesn't take that long that I think we can get a quick win that's pretty valuable and hints at a larger one. But then there's a really big win that I think we can take advantage of in about 4 to 6 weeks of work. We can make a huge win for their organization that helps them keep a massive customer, and that's really valuable. So you want to be able to evaluate this, but I caution you against using old paradigms to evaluate this. There's a lot of new paradigms, but also you do want to use old paradigms, but you don't want to just use that. Let me clarify that. And in terms of, one of the most important factors to me is reliability. How reliable is it at giving you a solution? And at first it will be less reliable, and good AI engineers will be able to. There's a lot of cool stuff you can do with LLMs to increase its own reliability. Like you can post-check it with itself or with a different model and a different prompt and different data to enable it to really get very reliable outputs. But obviously, the evaluation, it's highly contextual to your situation. If you're looking to automate somebody's work, how much less time can they do the same work in, or how much more work can they do? I would recommend having somebody who understands how to evaluate the efficiency, the productivity of people and a team. I would also encourage you to think about this from a system standpoint, because just because in a little isolated ball the AI provides value, that doesn't mean that there isn't additional cost to the system. And so you want to be realistic about that, because sometimes even though it seems cool and it seems interesting and you learned a lot, actually implementing it has systems-wide costs that don't make it really worth it, at least not with the first iteration. And then understand this is a long-term game. This is to put your company into a position over the next 2 to 10 years to beat out your competitors. And if you do not do this, then they will be the organizations who do will beat you out. But this is also part of why don't worry if it doesn't work right away. As an organization, you need to be building that muscle and that understanding and that discipline and that documentation on how to actually leverage AI. And it's not going to be an overnight process, but you do need to start as soon as possible. Speaking of which, call us today for a free custom AI implementation roadmap, or you can click the link below and we'll go from there. If you like this video, please like it. If you have any thoughts or comments, please leave them below. I'm happy to discuss with you, or even if you disagree with some of my points here, I'd be happy to have an internet discussion with you. So anyway, thank you very much. Have a great day. Thanks for watching. Bye.